Welcome back, guys, to the feature card here at Leviathan Disc Golf Course of the Michigan State 2019 Championships for Disc Golf. Today on the commentators, we'll have Kyle and Ziggy, but before we get to them, just want to give a huge shout out to the sponsors of this video, including Disc Baron, the official disc provider of this year's tournament of the state championships, and also Caitlin from Finance of America Mortgage. If you need to purchase, refinance, or invest, get in touch with her. She is absolutely capable and helpful in getting all those things situated for you in Indiana or in Michigan. And then we have Bryce from Icon Realty. He loves helping his disc golfers take care of all of their realty needs, so definitely reach out to them if you have any questions. And our whole overview sponsorships have been provided by Flight Club Dubs over in Vicksburg, Michigan. Great club, lots of fun going out every year and every summer, so check them out and on to the round.
Looks like we got Bennett, Josh, Willie, and Kyle again. Within 2 strokes of each other on the front 12. Everyone's still pretty tight. Nothing. No winner is decided yet. At this course, anything is possible. So here we got hole 10. Pretty tough par 4. Off the tee pad, you start off elevated. You essentially, a righty wants to throw straight and then a little hyzer at the end, so they're in line with the gap, and that gap allows them to approach the basket. If you are not right in line with the gap, you're almost forced to lay up and play for 4, just because it's so tight and tricky that you can't even progress towards the basket.
Yeah, and Willie, his shot here looks like he goes a little too far right. Like, he doesn't look like he's lined up with that gap.
He's going to have to do that layup most likely and just play for the easy 4, which an easy 4 doesn't really exist on this hole because there's about 4 large trees surrounding the basket, where if you are, in the wrong place by an inch or 2, you don't have a very good look at the pin.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool to see the basket and the placement, but if you play here and you've played this hole, you're probably thinking about that upshot, and you're probably thinking, I hope I have a putt, because I'm not sure on any shot that I throw up there is going to have a putt.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's pretty to look at, not always pretty to play with. It's like Geoff pulled it out right again, but Geoff might be more right than Willie, but he's back far enough to where he's still exposed to the gap. So he can get a little greedy here if he wants.
Yeah, honestly, being short here is not a horrible thing. I mean, if you're up close to that gap and too far left or right, it's killer. It's hard to get any shot really, other than pitch out to the gap.
Josh is short left here, so he has more. He has a great angle actually. Looks like he pierced the gap, pretty true. Now he'll have a look at the basket. Depending on which tree is in his way, he might not be able to make it, but he will have an opportunity.
And you see Willie doing exactly what we were talking about, just kind of pitching to the gap. He was a little too far right.
Kyle snuck through some woods there. Patent pending style. Ooh, caught a tree. Without that tree, he would have been certainly in puttable range. Again, depending on the tree he saw, may or may not have had an ability to put it in.
Yeah, and he could easily just have slid right up next to it. I mean, the ground up there is very... You can skip quite a ways.
This is a hole where if you get a birdie, you fully earned it. There's no one's lucking their way to a birdie on this hole. It's very tricky and requires 2 excellent shots. Geoff just laying up for a 3 here. Went past the basket. He's probably not too happy with that because I sound like a broken record, but all those trees by the basket, you really don't want to leave a whole lot of meat on the bone.
Oh, and Kyle was wanting that to go in. I mean, he had a good open look. A little far away, but I mean, that's not out of his range.
Ooh, Josh with a great look for 3. just a little left there, but should have a pretty easy 4, which is a thing on this hole.
That's a solid 4 from Willie. I mean, that's a great 4.
Yeah, from where he was off the tee, he had to throw 2 excellent shots to get that 4.
Yep. And then Geoff there, it didn't look like a hard putt, but it didn't look like an easy putt, but that tree was kind of in his way, and he had to straddle and get over a little bit to get that in there.
He did a good job focusing up and making that putt. Oftentimes, when we have a 20-25 footer that we shouldn't necessarily have, we're mad that we have that putt, and it forces you to maybe not focus as much.
Hole 11, 440. Green ends a little uphill, but you have to go over, kind of over a little hill to start here off the tee, and it forces you to throw up a little higher to accomplish that, and then the elevation just drops. You can see Willie's quite high in the air here and drops to the left. You kind of want to be on that left side or in the middle, obviously, but the left side is, I think, more forgiving than the right side.
Yeah, no, this is it's another shorter woodsy par 4, a hole where a lot of players throw fairway driver mid-range off the tee just to give them a higher chance of being in the middle so they can get their 3. But looks like Willie was trying to do it, and Kyle. But this hole is reachable, with a well thrown high speed driver. Reachable. I have seen it reached before. It's not too common, but it is possible. That's where the risk reward comes into play. You start trying to go for the 2. Now you mess up. Now you're looking at 4 or 5. So Leviathan does a really good job at goading you into shots maybe sometimes you shouldn't have taken.
You see Josh got stuck before. He didn't even make the top of the hill, but he had a pretty good out from there. I mean, he made it all the way up to, he could even have a putt there.
Josh threw a 11 out of 10 upshot is what I would say right there. He threw it's pretty perfect. Anywhere within 100 feet of the basket from where he was is phenomenal.
And you're seeing these players, I mean, working for every shot. I mean, Kyle had to throw from a knee on the edge of the rough, and now he's got this long uphill putt. I mean, they're tough holes. I mean, you got to work for everything.
No, Leviathan will give you nothing. I mean, Geoff was pretty much in the fairway and still threw a tomahawk upshot, if that tells you anything about the terrain and angles that you experience at Leviathan. Josh for his 3. Oh my gosh.
That is an amazing.
That's an amazing 3. Vegas odds would have not been good on that, him making a 3 there. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, and Bennett with a solid putt for his birdie.
When that's something that could potentially shift momentum. Getting a birdie when you're very unlikely to. That may give you some confidence and some pizzazz, and it may deflate your opponent a little bit. So something like that, could definitely have some lasted mental effects.
Oh yeah, hole 12. Tell us about this one, Ziggy.
It's a beast of a par 5. It's a beautiful par 5 where there's 3 distinct landing zones. But the first tee shot is significantly downhill. So if a player does end up getting a good distance off the tee, a 3 is very possible. You want to throw basically 45 degrees. You want to throw a power hyzer. You don't want something that goes straight, and you don't want something that goes dead left. You just want power hyzer traveling at about a 45 degree angle. And if you go too straight, you know what happened to Willie happens is you hit those trees.
Yeah, and Josh goes a little too far right, it looked like, off the tee. But I call that term kind of like for me on this hole, would be like a straight hyzer. Like I throw it, I let it Just pan straight and let the disc kind of finish left for me, because you don't want to hyzer too far left on this hole. You can get caught. But for me, it's like just let the disc finish. I usually throw like a fairway driver.
Yeah, exactly. If you go too sharp left, then you'll be in the woods, and if you go too straight, you'll be in the woods. It's a tricky hole. And your first landing zone is probably right about where Kyle landed.
Yeah, that's a great shot. I mean, that's kind of what the shot he threw was kind of what I was talking about. You just threw it straight, let the disc finish left on its own.
And everyone else seems to be out of position besides Kyle. And then, like I said, it's not the hardest par five, but as soon as you get out of position, it quickly becomes a hard par five. And this course really makes you pay when you're greedy and you're off. Great upshot from Bennett there.
Yeah, Bennett got some distance there, and that's important here. But he didn't go too far off the fairway either, so he should have a pretty nice next shot coming up.
Kyle throwing the big hyzer upshot. Now that was much more common, I would say, 5 years ago when those trees was tall. That was actually a very common approach shot for this basket. But since then, it has grown up, and very few people attempt that. So I'm actually curious as to whether that was always his game plan. Well, he was forced to go that way.
Well, us mere mortals that don't throw like 500 plus, we go down the middle. And
Josh throwing a pretty good forehand.
Oh, right in the middle. Nice shot from Josh. He looks like he's 45 maybe.
No, I'm sure he's more than happy with that from where he was. Geoff throwing a forehand. I said he'd be throwing a patent pending. A foot in mouth there.
A roller from Willie. You know he's in trouble when he's throwing a roller out of there, and it just gets around the tree.
I've been playing with Willie a lot for the last 3 years, and him throw this many forehand rollers ever, let alone in this one round. So that just goes to show you what kind of course this is. A player deep into their bag of tricks.
Let's see if Josh can. A little low, but he had the line.
I'm going to be honest with you. I thought that was in the whole way. I'm glad I didn't open my mouth.
Willie with a great birdie.
So after this hole, they're going to head into the other set of alternates, D, E, and F. And like I said, A, B, C, D, E, and F, fairly less difficult than holes like 1 through 18.
Yeah.
They are called the mid alternates, right, Kyle?
Yeah, they're mids. I don't believe there are long pads on them. It's just mids and shorts. So you see D here. The preview, it's a par 3, about 250. It's really just straight. It looks like it goes to the right, but it's really just kind of straight, and the circle finishes slightly to the right. But it's downhill a little, so there is an elevation change.
It's one of those holes that goats you into thinking it's more right than it is, but in reality, it's straight, maybe 8 to 10 feet right. So a lot of players will still throw sidearm, probably more so because of the low ceiling rather than they need to push right very far.
Yeah, because most people that are throwing the backhand are throwing some sort of slow speed putter, and with the low ceiling, it's more often than not you're going to be caught short.
Yeah, no, that's low ceiling. I mean, I throw forehand a lot. If there's a low ceiling, you'd be able to penetrate that gap a little faster with a putter.
And our lead card is just making this hole look easy. It's not, because the left and the right, if you see all those tiny little saplings early on, if you get caught left or right, it's danger. But since it is so short, I would expect our lead card to be doing this.
I would say this, or maybe F. I'd say D and F are probably the two easiest of the 24. C in there as well. But regardless, 3 of the easiest holes on the course are definitely alternates. So pros, like these guys are in general, are really attacking these holes, and especially the lead card. On with pressure, you got to get these ones.
We saw a rare miss from Willie there, so he takes a par.
Yeah, Willie seems to be more accurate from 40 than 23 this round, which we've all been there. You know, golf's a funny game. This is another hole, hole E, where it goats you into thinking you have to go more left than you do. Essentially, it's another straight hole. You just throw straight, and you'll be pretty satisfied with your tee shot. It has grown up, and I think the foliage adds to the illusion that you need to go. That makes you think you need to go more left than you do.
Yeah, and this what you're looking at off the tee is another really tight 2-track style. And Josh just makes it look easy as I'm saying this, but it isn't that easy. He just made it look easy.
Well, that's what good players will do. You know, they'll make hard things easy.
But yeah, it is like Ziggy was saying, it's grown up quite a bit. Like it, and the club usually takes. I think they do a good job in this area of taking care of the courses, but with this B tier, that's the largest B tier in the world in Ludington. How many courses do you think they have? I mean, it's crazy. Maybe I'm guessing off the top of my head, but like 7.
Something like, I mean, the 3 at Mason County, Flip, Whiskey, Ludington, West Shore, 7 or 8. Yeah, Scottville. So that's 8 right there, and so that's 8 courses to manage for one tournament. So that's a lot for anyone, especially volunteer work. No one's being paid full time to manage these courses, so
that was a great
count as well.
Bennett. That was a par save. I mean, he misses that putt, and he's only 1 stroke ahead of Kyle. But he also bogeyed this, so that even makes it a larger gap now. He would have stayed the same distance away had he missed that.
Did Kyle miss his putt after Geoff or before?
It might have been before. Hole F.
I remember. It could have been big putted. So hole F. A lot of people will throw straight with a mid-range or a forehand flex around this tree right in front of you. Those are the 2 major gaps, I think.
Oh, yeah. I just throw right at that tree and hope I miss it.
Low is key, because there is you can't see it, but down when you get towards the basket, there's a clown's mouth. So whatever you do, keep it low.
And Geoff with a forehand, looks like he made it. Oh, yeah. A little deep, but he's going to have a putt.
That's, I think, when you have a low ceiling like that, we often throw it harder to make sure it gets through that low ceiling a little quicker, and that results in the basket sometimes.
And Willie getting the tree love right there.
Willie's 675,000th good tree kick. So.
And Kyle with a rare hyzer around the tree down the fairway.
Yeah, I said the 2 gaps are straight backhand or a sidearm flex, and Kyle's like, here's another route. so I apologize. Well, Geoff with a rare miss, especially things get a little tighter towards the end of the round. You know, Geoff's usually pretty clutch with those putts.
Oh, yeah.
Kyle puts looks like he narrows the gap to 2 strokes. And 2 strokes with holes to play is not much. And even Josh, who's 4 back, and Willie, who's also 4 back, would you agree, Kyle, that any one of them could take it down?
I mean, with the holes we have left, like this hole 13 and on, yeah. I mean, it says it's a par 3. For distance, maybe purely because it's 500 feet. But I would call this, scoring-wise, more of a par 4. You'll see, if you get your 3, you're really happy on this hole. You pretty much just want to avoid the left and the right. You want to hit the lane, the fairway, just straight as possible. And yeah, there's lots of places yet on this course you can get into trouble.
Definitely a true par 4, I would say. Especially with how overgrown it has become. Again, no knock on anyone, but there's a lot of woods out here. It's a lot to maintain, and stuff grows. The gaps has made this hole a little more tighter. There used to be a left gap for a sidearm or a lefty, but the pine trees have pretty much closed that off to where now there is just the one gap. Far, you just want to progress down the fairway as much as possible.
Yeah, definitely. Progression as far as you can go is definitely key. But I think you'll ask a lot of people, and I hear a lot of people say that Leviathan is still like one of their favorite courses, and I would agree. I think it's a fun course to play.
It's extremely refreshing because a lot of our courses in Michigan, it's a lot of par 3s. You know, you're trying to 2 everything. It's slightly repetitive. So it is nice to play a course where your goal is a 3 or a 4 or even a 5 on some holes.
You see Geoff here. He got caught up early with his forehand drive, but that forehand upshot is going to leave him with it's going to leave him with a putt for his 3.
He was out of position, and he actually told me about this shot when he was over last week that he didn't really have much. He was just trying to give himself a jump putt because he was feeling confident. He's too risky and try and pass it.
Yeah, that's going to be in the circle for Josh, but
Willie's drive. It's a heck of a drive.
yeah, and this upshot is going to be short, but I mean, he'll have a putt, like I said. I mean, he's got to be right around the circle.
Yeah, you should definitely have a pretty open look. Maybe a little further. That was that Kyle's second shot or his drive?
I think that was his second shot, and I think he was trying to give that a good run, and he knew it was not in as soon as he let it go. But Geoff, on the other hand, pretty much just walked that in.
Yeah, this is clutch time in the round, and with my experiences with Geoff Bennett, he generally comes to play during clutch time. You know, he'll make those jumpers. He'll make your 15 to 20 footers seem far.
And Willie with another rare miss from pretty close.
Willie's having one of those days where putting gets harder the closer you get to the basket, and it doesn't make much sense, but we've all been there. Hole 14, very tricky shot. There's a gap on the left and a gap on the right. The gap on the left is wider, doesn't allow you to get very far down the fairway. It's safer. The gap on the right is tighter, but if you miss, you're going to hit early and you might be in a sea of pine trees and not have much of an upshot. So it really depends on how greedy our players want to get off the tee.
Yeah, and it is really not a large gap. I mean, it is a small gap, and I mean, in my mind, when I was on this tee, I was thinking that's the gap I got to hit because where I want to land to make this hole an easy three, there's no way I'm taking the other gap because I'm not going to get there.
Yeah, no. That you saw kind of for the gap on the camera preview, and you want to be at least to that island, preferably past it, in order to have a decent angle for your upshot.
And
Conservative.
Geoff getting to the mid pad there. You can see the mid pads at Leviathan are the rubber tees, and it looks like he made it just about to the mid.
Looks like Geoff was just playing conservative, trying to get up there. Holy shnikes. That was a good drive there. Nice smash by Willie. Should have left on the bone there for a pretty easy birdie three. Again, this hole says it's a par three, but you viewers can figure out that this is not a par three.
No, not even. The way the tee is set up and the landing zone that you have to hit, and then your upshot, definitely a par four. But you can see a lot of our players here on the card struggling with their upshots.
Yeah, you see, Geoff tried to be a conservative off the tee, and then that gives him a much more difficult angle for his second shot. But like I said, I think that's his goal at the end. He really wants to put the pressure on his putting and not the pressure on his throwing. Kyle getting down there.
We got Kyle short, Geoff was short, and I believe Josh was also short on his upshots. And we have Willie here making it look easy. This is his upshot, and it is pretty much right under the basket.
It's pretty good. I think he'll make that. Josh now. You see, the difference between Josh and Bennett is Josh is trying to lay this up, and Bennett would more than likely be trying to make it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He'd throw something lofty at it, and it would have a good chance of going in.
Geoff to put some pressure on Kyle. Bang. What a putt.
That is a clutch putt right there. I mean, and he starts walking towards. Yep.
High, but just good enough. That's for his three. Kyle's got this putt for a four. If he misses it, Geoff's going to extend his lead to 4 strokes with 4 to play. Missed it. Josh is getting a 4. Willie's getting a 3. So Bennett's going to have 4 over Kyle, 5 over Josh, and 6 over Willie.
Yeah, that is. It's starting to get to the point where you're going to have to make moves quick, and Geoff's going to have to mess up somewhere.
Yeah, at this point, even if Kyle birdies all 4, he's going to need some stuttering or faltering from Geoff. So hole 15.
This is a short one. Hole plays only about 215, but you can see the green here is pretty treacherous. If you come up short, you have a death putt. There's no way around it. But most players go high on this. They just throw a high hyzer. You can see Geoff there going high around. But they actually cleared out a low gap. And Ziggy, you were talking to me about it because you had followed our card, and you're like, why don't you guys just throw it low?
I think that the low gap is it's counterintuitive, one of those things that doesn't look like it would work, but it actually really does. A lot better than throwing just a big hyzer up there and hoping to get through the pine trees and branches. You can kind of control your luck a little better going low.
Yeah, and I have seen
Discard,
people,
just listening.
I have seen people get caught in those pines going the high route, so you can lose a disc too.
Oh yeah. Luckily in Michigan we do not do the 2-meter rule. Otherwise, extra penalty.
So Josh, I'm thinking he's probably going to lay this up, and he does. That's a safe play from Josh. He's not going to lose any strokes by trying to go for that.
Yeah, no, Josh keeping with his MO, not getting out of line very often. Kyle with a death putt. If he misses this, he's more than likely going 30 past. Is one of the strokes he needs right there.
And that definitely puts some pressure on Bennett here. Let's see if he can answer.
Oh, another back-to-back death putts. Geoff says, hey guys, my putting is ready for all your challenges right now.
Yeah. And really, I mean, he didn't even need that, but if he had missed it, he is only 3 strokes ahead of Kyle.
And if he misses it and rolls, misses that, then that's 2 strokes. So it could have been significant, but Geoff closed the door there on that opportunity.
Well, I don't want to talk about hole 16 because I didn't play it very well, so you can.
Hole 16 is essentially dead straight. There's a low ceiling, so you have to throw a driver, whether it be sidearm or backhand. And you basically just try and throw it as straight as possible, keep it under those branches, and try and hit the hill and slide up to the basket. It has a pretty solid backstop, as you can tell, so that backstop, you're going to have a putt. Your disc isn't going to skip past it or do anything weird. But it is tight, very tight.
Yeah, and we see Kyle, he threw there, and he kind of hugged that right side, and that's earlier when I was saying I didn't play this hole very well. It's kind of what I did. It's a dartboard, kind of throw it straight, low, like Ziggy was saying, and skip up a little, and you're going to have a good time. If you don't do that, you're probably going to have a bad time.
This hole might have the thickest rough on the course, or at least it's up there. So if you get off this fairway, it is not pretty. And if you maybe get squirrely on an upshot, you hit it at a wrong angle, you can easily roll. It's very steep. Leviathan hole, or someone on your card will make it look easy, and someone on your card will make it look very hard.
Like Josh has got a little forehand up here. Expect this is going to be right under the basket. And yep, nice easy up for him.
I think for upshots, he's laying up. He might have had a total of 28 feet total on all of his upshots, it looks like. He's pretty right up there. If he doesn't want to mess around, he just makes the up and down as simple as possible.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's smart, very, very smart golf, especially when, he's having a really good round, so you want to keep it that way. Hole 17, we have it's listed as a par 3, only 450 feet. Again, very tight wooded. It scores like a par 4. You're going to see this one go straight for about 300 feet and then turn dogleg to the right. So a lot of people, like Geoff here, are going to throw a forehand off the tee and try to push it straight as far as possible and try to cut that corner here, and he does exactly that.
That should his birdie on the last hole did a pretty good job at it, but this should be the extra layer of icing on the cake. It's a very, very rich, sugary cake he's making. No, he's putting it away. And definitely a par 4. I don't agree that it's a par 3. I've seen maybe Reed Friscura throw one of the best shots of his life and get a putt for 2. But again, there's a lot of shorter par 4s out here, but they lack in distance. They make up for in
difficulty. It is difficult. There you see Willie he didn't look very happy with that, but I think Josh is going to be okay with his. He looked like he went and finished pretty straight.
He's throwing a forehand. you know that Willie's out of position if he's throwing a forehand. He's got a great backhand. He can throw forehand, but it's not his first or second option generally. Tight right, on the right side, if you throw tight right, you pretty much have nothing.
And Kyle made it look pretty easy there because that was a great out from him. It looked like he got a pretty good amount of distance on. Oh, yeah, he kicked. He must have kicked then.
Looks like Kyle. This can happen. You're in a tight battle for a big tournament. Someone starts to pull away. You're playing for second, third, fourth, and it's just as playing for first is. So sometimes you might just kind of let your guard down a little, and that's natural.
Yep, and Willie having some issues as well. I mean, like we were saying earlier, they've played a lot of golf already. And
at this point, they are tired.
They played yesterday 48 holes. And at this point, I can remember how I was feeling. It's tiring.
Yeah, even as someone not even playing, just walking, I left with about 6 or 7 holes left. These courses, they're not your average walks. Ludington's a very hilly place. It's taxing on the body.
And Willie with another miss there. Not happy with that.
Oh, certainly not. But like you said, at this point, all of them are be sitting in a lawn chair somewhere or sitting in some AC, doing nothing.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to do at this point.
No. While you were still playing, that's what I was doing.
Hole 18. A very good par 3. I think it's a good challenging par 3. It has a low ceiling, a distance of 370, a very nice clear open green, pretty flat, a little hilly to the left. But most people are either throwing a driver here with high speed, nice and low, and controlling the distance they put on it, or they're throwing a fairway driver as hard as they can, but trying to control the height on it so it doesn't go too high.
Yeah, and then Geoff's just throwing one to get out there. He doesn't even care where it lands. He just wants to get it done and be the champion. But this hole is a low ceiling has grown on the tee, which makes this hole very difficult. A birdie on this hole is pretty rare, I would say. It requires almost a perfect shot.
Yeah, and Kyle just getting frustrated there. I mean, he seems to have been off on the tee the last 3 holes.
Yeah, no, he realizes that he's not playing for first, so it's not as fun as playing for. First is more fun than playing for third or fourth, that's for sure. Willie with a phenomenal drive. I wonder what he threw there. Straight.
Kyle just out of the rough, and it looks like he made it. Yep, he made it out right by the short pad.
See if he can maybe put this one in, finish with some fireworks. Oh, just putting it right next to the pin. Smart move.
And that's his 4 there is going to put him, if Josh puts this right under, is going to put him in a tie, and it looks like that's going to happen. It's going to put him in a tie for second.
And I think Kyle's only 17, maybe 18, just turned pro this year. He's at the world's biggest beach here. Not too shabby. Willie with a great birdie to finish. Looks like he'll finish 1 stroke out of that tie for second. I bet he could figure out a few putts that.
And Geoff putting it home for number 7.
Number 7, yeah, I'd say he has a pretty good lock on this tournament. You know, Geoff's won it 7 times, and I think Josh, the final 4 skins match for this tournament, 5 times, maybe 6 times. He's always up there too.
So there you have it. We have Geoff Bennett, your Michigan State champion, followed by Josh, and then Willie leading just a stroke behind him in third.
Nick Gill tied Geoff Bennett for the hot round, 71. Anything under Ironman par out there is a phenomenal round. That concludes the 2019 Discraft Michigan State Championships. Thank you for watching along with us. I am Ziggy, and joining me was
Kyle Williams. Make sure you guys give Crew 42 a like and a follow. They're doing great work.